I've been going for like 6 minutes on here.
Well, welcome. We're talking today, me and When Logic Dies, about courage. Get the fuck away from my microphone. We're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Sorry. We're talking about episode 3 of season 1. Did they do that, don't they? Where they start a new season and they're like season 2, episode 1. I kind of hate that.
So the original idea was that we're going to sort of talk about each episode. I don't know if that's going to work because one, there's a lot of episodes.
Yes.
And we'll be going for if we're going to take a fortnight to do an episode, which is what we're currently taking. It's going to take us the rest of our lives. So I wonder if we need to kind of like condense it a little bit and smash through a bit more. I don't know, but what ultimately happened was pre-Christmas, Mooney and I were having a wee chat, and it transpires that we're both Buffy heads. I'm probably a bit more Angel, and Mooney's a bit more Buffy. I'm a little bit Angel, yeah. And you're a little bit Buffy.
And I have no problems with Angel. I just want to make that clear. There's been beef about Angel on Twitter, and I'm like, whoa, what is that about? Apparently, new fans are like, Angel was so lame, blah, blah, blah. Like, whoa, get the fuck out of here.
Really?
Yeah, I've been seeing that today, and I was like, and yesterday, and I was like, what is this blasphemy?
So the most I've seen is that obviously there's a new season meant to be starting soon. I don't know if they've actually started filming or production or whatever, but Sarah Michelle Gellar is officially involved. I believe Dave Boreanaz basically said good luck, didn't he? He like tweeted saying, "Hey, good luck with that."
Yeah.
Sort of implying he's not involved.
Which doesn't surprise me. I mean, like, if you look at what he did after he moved on from Buffy, it was a lot of, like, militaristic type shows and stuff like that. So.
SEAL Team 6, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And he obviously did Bones. And Bones went on for, what, like 9 seasons or something. He's arguably more whatever that character's called. I've never really watched it.
It's an excellent show. I very much enjoyed it. But, yeah, he's definitely... And you can see he enjoys his role of Seely. Seely Booth is his name in that show.
Right.
And he enjoys that role more because he gets to be goofy and he gets to be, like, more people person-y. And you can see even towards the end of Angel that he is getting to be that way with Angel. And that's really, I think, what he wants as an actor, so...
I'd say, arguably season 2 onwards, really allows David Boreanaz to be a lot more goofy because there's a lot of seasons involving Lorne where the ongoing joke is that he's a big fan of Mandy the song, and what's the chap's name who does all those songs? You know what the line is? I think it's Pretty. And there's a lot of jokes like that where David Boreanaz gets to be a bit more silly and a bit more goofy.
Yeah.
And certainly by the season 5, it's like it's almost amped up to the maximum, really.
Yeah. That's like I think that's what he wants more as an actor. So I think the idea of going back to being Angel it just doesn't appeal to him.
Yeah, dark, brooding. And if you think about it, a lot of the people that he was deeply involved with, so Lorne, Quinn, they're physically gone.
Yeah.
Charisma Carpenter's not. She wants probably nothing to do with it. And sadly, Xander is without being too blunt, a bit of a crackhead, isn't he? Yeah. I had no idea. Right. So no, like genuinely, I was listening to. Turns out Mauler. If you watch any of the, do you watch any YouTube stuff, or are you sort of like really anti YouTube?
No, I watch YouTube.
Hey, Raycon. Hey, Raycon, how's it going, buddy? Sorry, I just seen Raycon's in chat.
Oh, Raycon. Hi, Raycon. I'm not looking at my chat. My bad, guys. Hang on.
Yeah, sorry, I've got multiple windows open. So Mauler, turns out, is I presume you know who Mauler is, right?
I do not, but That's because
Okay,
I'm.
he's a YouTuber, and he's on a lot of the big TV and movie critics, so like Critical Drinker
Okay.
and Nerdrotic and all that. So he's part of that crew, and transpires he's like a massive Buffy guy, and he was talking about the whole thing, and I had no idea that Xander was basically a bit of a shit IRL, really.
So I've known for a while that he's done some sketchy shit, and like in my head, I thought it was just, and this was like knowledge from back when I was in college that I was pulling on, because I watched a ton of Buffy the Vampire Slayer panels from Comic Cons, which if you're looking at, like, it's nice that Sarah Michelle is getting involved because I trust her with the character of Buffy and all of that stuff.
Yes,
But
agreed.
if anyone's gonna get involved, I'm like, it's the guys who show up to these panels, right? Because they still love the show the
Yes.
show that they were on. So if they don't, like, to me, it's a big misstep if they don't ask James Marsters to do anything with the show, because he's
Spike is Spike is involved.
good.
I'll put real money on it. He's turning up.
Yeah,
Spike's turning up.
that's what I want, and I think that that's what's going to happen, just because. And I didn't expect David Boreanaz to be on board, just because I've known he never shows up at the panels. His characters
Yep.
since this show have been completely different. He's perfectly happy where he's at. So I said, I never expected him to show up. I think Nick Brandon would, but I from what I knew, I was like, I'm pretty sure that guy is like, he was arrested for pot or something, or maybe like some weird
Well,
sexual stuff with a
it's even
minor.
worse.
And it's
Correct.
even
Yeah,
worse.
it's worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worse, unfortunately. Sadly, because I mean, this is, I mean, there's a wider discussion that I've wanted to have for a long time, and certainly our Aussie friend, at one point we were going to do a music discussion about like separating the art from the artist, and actually this applies for Nick Brendan as well, because he, as we said in the previous episode, I believe Xander is our everyman. He's our eyes into the world of Buffy. So if you were to view it through the lens of Sarah Michelle Gellar, it doesn't make sense. You need to watch the show through the lens of Xander, because he's the guy who's kind of like the everyman.
Yeah.
He has no powers, and
He never
kind of
gets
seen it
powers.
firsthand. Yeah, and he never gets powers, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And he's kind of like the everyman and the Joker. But anyways, so the point I'm trying to get at is, like, you have to separate the art from the artist. So I think Nick Brendan is a brilliant Xander Harris, but he might be a bit of a prick IRL. That certainly seems to be the case. I looked at some of his TikToks and I was like, holy cow, this guy's like just not in a good place. He's not in a good place.
Nice.
I don't expect Anthony Head to show up. Alison Hannigan, I mean, other than How I Met Your Mother, has she really done much? Not really.
Yeah.
So I imagine Willow will show up. Anya will probably show up. Michelle Trachtenberg was on that Gossip Girl, wasn't she?
Well, and someone
Watches that.
like reminded me, there was I follow Buffy Twitter fan accounts now, and someone reminded me, like, Anya dies, spoiler alert, Anya dies at the last episode on the last season. So and it happens so fast, and because there's no other seasons, they're like, this person's point was like, we never got to mourn Anya's death as a character and like as a fan base, because like it's so abrupt at the end of that episode. And
I forgot that she dies, to be honest.
Yeah, so a lot of these characters that they could possibly bring back, they would have to bring them back to life. Or like with Spike, he's aged. James Marsters is aged. He's a human being, so like,
yeah,
they would have to explain that somehow.
So they brought Buffy back 3 times. She dies in season 1. She dies in season.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely possible.
3. She dies 3 times, right? Is it 2?
I think it's at the end of season 1, and then I think it's 4, because that's the one where Dawn shows up, and that's
correct. Yeah. Because she has to die twice, because it's me, Kendra, the Vampire Slayer. She's the one who replaces her in season 2, who is undoubtedly the worst Vampire Slayer of all time. No offense to the actress of Kendra,
but
she was Everything awful. But we're going to get to that eventually. And then, of course, Faith shows up. Wait, but no, does Faith show up because Kendra dies?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, that's exactly what happens. So it's
Ah,
Kendra and then
yeah.
Faith, which I think it's so funny that they
Faith dies
essentially
as
cheated the system because like at this point, if you're the Watchers Society, you're like, well, if we can stop their hearts for like 30 seconds, less than 30
you can just
seconds.
generate 100. Spoiler alert! End of the last season. That's basically what happens anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But I'm
Basically
kind of
every
shocked they
yeah.
don't suggest that to someone at some point because like
It doesn't.
Kendra's such a like
Is
yes master kind of like character, so like she would fucking
Yes,
do
Master.
it.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she does. So we think, okay, well, before we get into the witch, because I've got not much to say about the witch personally. I think we're probably better off discussing the new season, arguably. But we know Sarah Michelle Gellar is involved. We're almost 100% certain that Nick won't show up because he's got the bad touch and he's definitely an alky.
Well, and my thing is,
Well,
so like this is me being like a crackhead, but you know that's that episode where Xander's personality splits into two. They didn't do that with
which
CGI. Nick Brandon has a twin.
is his twin brother.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: his twin brother actually applied for the role, and he got it in. Well, no, I think he got it right, and then couldn't do it, so Nick took over.
Yeah, so something
Something
like
like that.
that. So I'm like, maybe we could just bring Nick's brother into the role if he's not a crackhead. Like, who knows? Maybe it's a familial thing where they're like, oh no, we just all become crackheads. You know, addiction runs in the family.
Where,
But like,
yeah.
you could always bring Nick Brandon's
So
brother in.
so we know Nick's not gonna show up, but maybe his brother could. Alison Hannigan probably. Anthony Stewart Head's kind of gone off and done his own thing. James Marsters, yes, Spike will show up, but they're going to have to do some sort of goofy ass because he's got a soul. He's now aging and
Something like that.
some dumb shit. Anya's dead, but I'm sure they'll bring her back. Dawn Summers, she became a Slayer. No, she was
I
one of the ones.
think you're right about that. I think you're right.
I think she was one of the ones who was a potential Slayer that became a Slayer. Joyce is dead.
Yeah, which why would you bring Joyce back? Poor Joyce. She didn't really
She's
have much to do with the Slayer part of her daughter's life. Like,
no, and she died like season 4.
I think
It's
season
quite
5. I think, yeah, season 4 or 5.
quite
One of
early
those two.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
Cool.
honestly, like, I was thinking about this because I was watching. Like I said, I've told Logic off stream. Like I'm binge watching everything, so I have like the collective knowledge, and I just think like with Joyce, she's very disconnected from her daughter, which I think part of that is her daughter's the Slayer, but then I also think part of it is she's a single mom, so she's working and has to work in order to provide for
Yes.
herself and her daughter. So like it kind of makes her more like she really loves Buffy. Like she's like, fuck with my daughter and I'll hit you over the head with a firefighter axe. Like literally happens.
Well, she does that.
Yeah.
She does that to Angel. Yeah.
No, she does it to
Yeah.
Spike. She hits Spike with the
It's a Spike,
firefighter
sorry.
axe.
Yeah.
And so she's really pro Buffy, but she's really absentee because of that. And it's like a very convenient plot device. And then I think probably at some point they're like, okay, Buffy's in college, let's just get rid of Joyce. Because even though
Yeah.
she is very pro Buffy, she's still a mom. So she's like, why are you out late? You're grounded, kind of shit. And you're like, damn it. She's trying to save the world, woman.
The funny thing is, though, is Joyce is such a great character. She's again, she's so grounded,
Yep.
and you almost need those characters that keep you in that sort of frame of mind that we are as a viewer to the show, where we don't fully know the world, and that's arguably like again Xander and Joyce, where you're sort of that the eyes into the absurdity of it all.
Yeah. And
So yeah, Joyce is dead.
she's just
Gone.
like also a very sweet character too. Like I do love her as a
She's-
mom character.
she's wonderful, and she's acted so wonderfully well as well.
Yeah.
Because she feels like a mom. She really does. Like,
Yeah.
and you kind of want her to be your mom. I mean, I'm not that I'm knocking my mom at all, but like, Christine Sutherland is that like dramatized, Americanized, perfect mother.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, move to another school, and you're grounded and kind of like that perfect mom.
Yeah.
Um, Cordelia's dead, and a
Yeah.
god slash dead.
A god and dead.
Uh,
That sucks. It
a
sucks when you
god,
become
a
a
dead
god and then
god.
you die.
Yeah.
Cordelia the dead god.
Angel. We can assume Angel's dead based on. Wow, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say.
That would be an
Tara.
interesting, like, that would be an interesting
It'd be,
conversation.
it'd be very cool to have even a cameo. That I think. Okay, before we get into the witch, what would be your ideal sort of like how they approach season 1 of the reboot?
I think it would be, a lot of people have said, like, I want to see Buffy as the new Watcher.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that would be a good way to approach it. I think it would also be, since we've activated quite a few Slayers now, supposedly worldwide, like, they would have to redact all of that. So your new,
I was about to say the same thing. You have to retcon that everyone is a Slayer. So
or you have
some sort of
Buffy
spell
leave
has
them.
happened, or that the way I would approach it is like season 1 needs to ultimately retcon the end of season 7 or whatever it is, where everyone gets turned into a Slayer. Well, not everyone. Every potential Slayer gets turned into a Slayer. And you have to undo that, and only one needs to remain.
Yeah.
Now, the way I would probably do it is that it is Buffy, but because she's now 48, whatever she is, because is she older than me? Let's have a look. Sarah Michelle Gellar, how old are you? 1977. So yeah, so she's 6 years older. So she's 47. So Sarah Michelle Gellar needs to be she is the last original Slayer, and then somehow she needs to pass it over. Whether that I wouldn't kill her again because she's been killed too many times, and that's tedious.
She's obviously unkillable at this point. She's just gonna have to die naturally.
Yes,
Like, everybody, all the forces of
yes.
evil are gonna have to get over it. Like, stop trying to kill
So
Buffy. It doesn't work.
maybe something silly like the council come to her and say, "Oh, we've got this thing that allows you to retire from being the Slayer, but we want you to be the Watcher because we don't, Giles is missing. Obviously, old, what's his name now? He went to Buffy. Alison Hannigan's husband.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Uh, what's his name? Anyways, he's no. Well, he's still a Watcher, I guess. He must be.
Yes, Wesley, right? She was married to Wesley. Right?
Wesley, yeah. Or is it? Yeah, she is. Yeah, rogue vampire hunter.
Yeah.
Is he still a Watcher? I guess. Well, he is because he takes over Faith.
Yeah, well, he takes over Faith, and then he heads over to Angel, and then there's the whole thing with, like, Fred, and, so he gets to the very end of that season, and he's still alive. So he could very well be still alive.
He could be.
And
yeah, maybe
we bring him back.
Maybe they bring Wesley back somehow.
And I think he's a much better
obviously
character than when he left Buffy. I think he's a much better character. So, like I've seen complaints about him online too, and I'm like, whoa, you clearly didn't watch Angel because he is insufferable in Buffy. But after he moves over to Angel, he really becomes like a nice character, like a cool character. I like Wesley.
Wesley at the Angel is by far the best character. He's phenomenal.
Yeah,
in fact, great. I even enjoy him. I even enjoy him at the beginning because he comes in being this sort of goofy, I'm this rogue vampire hunter, and then what he does with Connor and all that, it's bonkers. Like, I cannot wait to talk about that because for me, that's some of the like primo Angel Buffy that is.
Yeah.
And what? Oh my goodness, what's her name? The when in the park.
In the park.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
whilst he's okay, so you got to just picture this in the mind. It's a park in LA, and he's holding the baby, and someone comes up behind him and
Oh yeah. Okay, I think I know what you're talking
and
about.
then yeah, and then for like 2 seasons, he's like, and that's where he goes from being like a bit of a pussy to being like a serious badass. Where it's like, I read the prophecies, the father will kill the son, and he felt like he had to go do what he had to do, and it's phenomenal. It's just so wonderfully done.
Yeah,
So
he's a great character. I would be absolutely thrilled if he was somehow involved in the new project again, because he really does leave
maybe
as a great character.
maybe they bring Wesley in to sort of transfer Buffy. So like as a one episode, transfer her from being the Slayer to being a Watcher, and then we have a new Watcher.
Well, I think
Sorry, a new Slayer. I apologize.
the biggest issue with Buffy being the Watcher is that Buffy is not like a book learned Watcher, whereas that's kind of what you
No,
need for a Watcher. So I think it would be really cool to have her team up with Wesley and they train the new Slayer. She's still got
a
her
double-headed Slayer.
yeah, she's still got her Slayer knowledge and her Slayer experience and all that, which is like excellent. So she could do all the physical training with Wesley, and whereas Wesley is the one who knows, like, okay, this is probably a such and such demon because it's exhibiting these signs, that kind of a thing, which is what you kind of need in your Watcher to be.
So you have Wesley being the bookworm and Sarah Michelle or Buffy being like the brawns, and what made Buffy so wonderful as a character was her sort of like quick-witted and quick thinking. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the episodes, including The Witch, which we will talk about, I swear. There's a few bits where she's sort of very, especially the ending, how she kills the main witch, is sort of typical Buffy, like not necessarily brawn all the time, sort of that quick thinking of how can I defeat this enemy. It'd be nice for Angel to do even a cameo. One of my favorite episodes is in Angel where Buffy comes back to Buffy visits LA. Let me start over. Sorry, Oz or Seth Green visits LA, and he's got a ring, and allows Angel to be ultimately fundamentally like human. He can walk out in the sun and all that, and Buffy comes over as well, and they have this like wonderful time together. And something goes wrong, and in the end, he has to destroy the ring and go back through time. And I adore those episodes of sort of Buffy and Angel where like maybe it's me being like a bit of a romantic or like I don't know, sappy twat.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that episode the other day because I'm like, it was so nice when
Really?
Angel got to sit down and eat chocolate with Buffy and
Exactly.
let the man
And
have
maybe
something
it's
nice.
just let him have a good time, for crying out loud, please. So maybe something like that. Maybe they can work him in just for like an episode. He comes back from LA just to check in on her, make sure she's okay. It'd just be nice to see where he is, where I mean, Fred's dead, so we can't really bring Fred back.
Yeah.
Fuck, like everyone's dead basically. It's a bit of a tough one, and obviously James Marsters is going to be in his 50s now. Same for David Boreanaz.
Yeah.
So it'll be difficult to bring them back. They're going to have to explain that somehow if they do.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen too, a lot of people saying like they can't be part of this new project. And I was like, first of all, David Boreanaz wouldn't want to be part of it in a long-term respect, like, anyway, because that's not his gimmick. Like, it's not what he wants.
Yeah.
He likes his grounded reality roles and his militaristic roles. Whereas James Marsters, like, he's always been gung-ho for Buffy. Like, he like, it's crazy because now I went to college in 2014, right? So it's been a hot second, but he was literally, like, I was looking through YouTube clips of the Buffy panel at Comic-Con, and I was like, he's like in all of these. Like, he does
Yeah.
his damnedest to be there when it comes to Buffy. And he is very much like someone said, he was talking to someone who was bragging about, women are so much, wimpier than men and blah, blah, blah. And James Marsters looked at him and said, I've been on set with these Buffy stunt doubles for like the longest time. They could kick your ass and mine. They would wipe the floor with us. And I was like, go James Marsters. Like, he's just such a like if I ever found out he was actually like a secretly bad person, I would be so upset. Like, that would be the one
Yeah.
thing that would be truly heartbreaking, because he seems like such a nice guy, and he's so
He
like
does, doesn't he? Yeah.
he loves this show. Like Nick Brandon does it, I think, personally for his own reasons. He was very involved for a while in these panels and such. And I think that
Well,
was before, like, there's a Facebook group, Logic, that is Nick Brandon Awareness Group, and it's literally just,
really.
yeah, like, if you look at the description too, it's just for fans to share about their experiences with Nick Brandon, so you know to stay away from him. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, like, that's
I've heard
insane.
there's like a bad touch and all that, which is such a shame. Again, this is the thing I was going to talk to Kegsy about, was like separating the art from the artist. There's a lot of music where maybe Michael Jackson's maybe not a very good example, but someone like that, where you go, you need to separate where what they've done, or what they might have done, doesn't detract from them as a role or as a character. So like Zonda Harris as a character, Nick Brendan as the actor is separate from Nick Brendan as the creepy drunk perv.
Yeah. Well, and I'm very much like, it's so much easier to separate like your artist from your art when the artist is no longer benefiting directly from the art. So, like, for me, I'm totally fine with watching Buffy because Nick Brandon doesn't get any money from this. Like, and it's obvious he doesn't, because the dude fake sells his art. Like, he will sell his quote unquote art to you. You will buy it and you will never see it. Like, it will never get shipped out to you. So, like, obviously he's not getting a ton of money from it.
No, he's on Cameo as well. It's so kind of sad. It's sort of like, honestly, like watching some of his little Instagram reels and that, it's truly sad to see how, and James Masters is arguably like the polar opposite. Like,
Yeah.
he loves it, and he's so engaged. He appears to be like really engaged with the fans and all that. Good musician as well.
Yeah. I
Whereas
think
Nick Brendan's like,
it's so like you just look at them on the panel even, and James Marsters is living his best life, and Nick Brandon is up there, and you can just kind of see like he's not enjoying it, but you can tell he's got ulterior motives. Like, James Marsters is just such a pure puppy dog. Like, it's like when you if you have a dog, you come home and you open the door and your dog just starts wagging. That's James Marsters. Like, when he gets to be in the Buffy verse at all, he's wagging. Like, he's excited, he's happy, he's just living good life.
Funny, because their characters are kind of the opposite as their IRL ones. Like, Nick Brendan's character is like this puppy dog, just full of life. He's part of the Scooby Gang. He wants to be involved. James Masters is this like, or Spike is this like dark, evil character. Yes, and it changes later on, obviously, but certainly at the beginning, he's really, he's meant to be a big bad.
Yeah.
So it's quite funny that their like IRL personalities don't quite match their like on screen characters. The only other person I'd like to see would be Seth Green, because
Yes.
Oz leaves, and so when Willow does what she does, which we all know, I'm sure we all know, Oz takes off. Basically, he gets in the van, and that, in fact, the episode we're talking about with Angel and Buffy in LA is, I think that's the last time you see Oz.
No.
He gets in the van and drives off.
He comes back. He comes back once Willow finds out, she's actually into women. He comes back for that episode because he
Yeah.
shows back up and he's like,
That's
"Oh
right.
yeah, I sold my guitar and blah 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 in Mexico, and I've learned all these
Yes.
natural, meditative things to control my inner
And
wolf."
he's able to control the wolf. Yeah, that's right.
And
I
and
do
then they
remember that.
have like the other female wolf who's like, "You should just let it go," and he smells
That's
Willow on
right. Yeah, because
Terra and he freaks
he
out.
knows. Yeah, he knows. The only other person which has tweeted, so we know certainly at this stage is not involved, is Eliza Dushku. She tweeted saying, "I haven't been invited, but I wasn't a main character, so like stand down." But seeing Faith, who probably is my maybe second or third favorite character. I adore Faith. I adore Eliza Dushku.
Yep.
The wife knows, like, I have a bit of an obsession with her. She's like a mega babe.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and not only is
so
she a babe, I just love her whole character from when she, even like her first showing up to she's evil to now she's back in season 7. Like I enjoy having Faith around because she's so different from Buffy, and I think that was what they were trying to get at with Kendra, but they didn't really hit like a good tone with that. So I think that's one of the reasons they kill
yes,
Kendra, because they find a better way to do it with Faith. Because Faith is someone who takes the Slayer role and
Kendra's
does something
goofy.
different. Yeah.
Kendra's goofy. I feel like the actress just didn't quite know how to deliver, because we were watching something and she appeared in there. It's like, holy hell, that's Kendra.
That's crazy.
Whereas Faith is like the chaotic. She's a punk girl, is what she is.
Yeah.
She's just like she's anti Buffy. Buffy's this, as we'll see in Witch, is this cheerleader, also from the movies, sorry. This cheerleader, blonde, preppy, a lot of school spirit, like spunky.
Yeah.
Whereas Faith is a bit more dour. Life's shit. It's been rough on her. She'll happen if you leave your wallet out. That's your fault, not Faith's. You've left the wallet out.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's not her fault. You left that $50 on the table. Don't be daft. And so she's like anti-Buffy. She's great.
Yeah. And I think that's what that's really what they wanted with Kendra, but I'm like, to have an uptight Slayer is no fun. Like, no one wants to see that.
No.
Like, and that was kind of Kendra's character, was like, she's like, I'm not allowed to talk to men, and Buffy's like, why? Like, that's stupid. She's like, we have to go tell the Watcher it's standard procedure, and she's like, the fuck is standard procedure? Like, literally, she's like, the Slayer manual, and she's like, I've never heard of that.
You've watched her recently, haven't you?
Yeah. Giles is like, well, I realized after meeting you that the manual would be of absolutely no help to us. And I was like,
yeah.
Accurate description, accurate call, good job, Giles. But
right, so should we try and talk about The Witch? I have very little to contribute. Now, that's not to say I didn't enjoy the episode.
Yeah. It's a fun episode.
For me, yeah, so there's a lot of this happens with X-Files, with Star Trek, and with Buffy. You have these, so you have like the arching story. So Faith's actually a really good example. Faith tends to appear in these episodes where like the bigger picture story continues. Same for the Master and so forth. They progress the big picture story, and this is like the monster of the week.
Yeah.
This is the monster of the week story. Now, I enjoyed it. I'd give it sort of like a solid 6 or 7, probably a 6. It just was a monster of the week story for me.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge amount of exciting things to say, other than when we get to the end, I really liked what we were talking about earlier, where Buffy's sort of like this. She's like a 3D chess type person.
Yeah.
And how she defeats the witch is great.
Yeah.
because that's that sort of typical Buffyism.
Yeah, and she is quite the strategist, like, especially, like, I think with something like the Slayer, you know, you have to be a strategist, but also you have to be able to adapt and think on your feet. And she makes that point to Kendra, like, you've got to improvise, dude, because you're not going to be always holding a sword or holding a stake in your hand. You've got to be able to use your environment. You got to use your brain. Like, you gotta be able to break out of the norm. And Buffy shows that really well with this, especially, like, this is, you know, we're episode 3, and we're not fighting a vampire. Like, I think that's kind of, I think the witch suffers because it's such, like, if you had had...
It's arguably too early.
Yeah.
That's what I would
That's what I
argue,
was
it's a
thinking.
bit too early.
And it's not like a gut punch episode, you know? Like the pack would have been a good one here just because, or something like that, you know, maybe not the pack, because that really has to do with, like, relational shit going on with the Scoobies. But, like, you know, if it were something like that was more impactful with, like, this is our first non-vampire we're fighting. But this is a witch who wants to be young again, who wants to be on the cheerleading squad, and so she's sabotaging all the other cheerleaders. And so, you're kind of like, really, for this dumb of a reason, we've got to bring out the all-powerful Slayer? Like, which, I mean...
Well, arguably, it sets the tone for other episodes in the season, so you're not... Because the world of Buffy is not vampire. It's not just vampires, I should say. It's predominantly vampires. She fights demons, werewolves, witches, and everything in between. So having that arguably so early maybe is a good thing, that it sets us up to see that no, it's not just vampires. There's other stuff in this world.
Well, and I think, too, like, something that struck me as funny that I made a mental note to bring up is you have the first cheerleader, they're like, she's on fire, and Cordelia's like, enough with the hyperbole, and they're like, no, she's literally on fire, that girl's on fire, like, her pom-poms catch fire, and her
scene.
Like, it's so funny.
I love that scene.
But her hands get burned,
it's
like,
so
they make a point of her hands are burned, right? And then you get towards the end of the episode, and Giles is like, well, the witch just wanted to get them out of the running. With Buffy, she wants Buffy dead. And they act like whatever spell is on Buffy is, like, so much worse than what she did to these other women. And I'm like, no, those women have to live disabled now for, like, the rest of their life. What do you mean? Like, if you had just burned Buffy's hands, that would have fucking sucked for her. How is she gonna be the Slayer with hands that don't function properly? Like,
but she probably would have recovered quite quickly. What was interesting, though, is that you see Cordelia's development as Cordy, because that is her typical... That is early Cordelia.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to see her like that. And the same for Willow. Willow is still... She doesn't have her witch powers yet, but actually, as spoiler alert maybe, I'm sure everyone's watched it, she learns from Amy. So this is probably... Not probably, this is Willow's first step into that world.
Yeah, well, and I think, too, it's so funny that... Because Amy is a reoccurring character, but not, like, she's in every other episode. It's like, no, she's, like, in this season, and then randomly in this season, and randomly in this season. But she is, like, she is, like, a character that comes back. And so this episode does set up a lot. Like Logic said, it's a little bit of, like, foreshadowing. This is kind of Willow's first exposure to witchcraft. Which at some point she stops being the nerdy girl with the computer stuff and starts being more, oh, she's the witch girl with the witchy stuff. So, and I love to, I just watched the episode where Oz is standing in front of the trophy case, and he's like moving back and forth, and he's like, this trophy's eyes kind of like watch you when you walk. Yeah, it's like, I kind of like it. And you're like, oh Lord, that's Amy's mom. Because the whole point of this episode is Amy's mom wants to be young again, wants to be a cheerleader. So she swaps bodies with her daughter and then decides to be on the cheerleading team, only she's not good enough anymore. So she has to resort to witchcraft to start, like, knocking out these other cheerleaders, so she stops being a backup cheerleader and can be on the main team, which I just think is like, you're doing too much, lady. Like, go to therapy. Like, you need help.
It's interesting because as an older as an older gentleman, I can empathize a lot more now. You know, I would happily go back to my school years. I would. Don't get me wrong. I adore my family and all that, and I wouldn't change them for the world. But you know, your youth years, you're 18 or whatever, they're the best years of your life, and it's an interesting it's an interesting bigger topic and not one to be discussed right now.
Right.
But I do think this kind of touches on it, where the mom is clearly sort of my age,
Well, and
and Mrs.
I think an important aspect
You on?
too is like Amy is like, yeah, since dad left, and she's like, I used to hear them argue, and he would call her a witch, and I thought it was just a name, but like turns out she's an actual witch. Holy shit. And so I think her mom goes through this like midlife crisis where she's like, this is not how I thought my life would be. And instead of doing something actually good with it, like changing it and doing something good with her witchcraft, she's like, I'll just steal my daughter's body and, hit the reset button. And you're like, okay, maybe not that. Like, you can do things to like make your life better from here, but like it's not that. That's not it. That's not your answer.
I don't know. If I had the witch powers to do that, I probably would.
Note to self: watch out for Logic's son.
Watch out for Logic. Another favorite scene of mine in this is where Buffy gets whammied with the witch curse.
Oh yes.
And she's overly excited. And she comes downstairs. Macho man. I want to be a macho man. Ooh, juice. It's it's a very typical Buffy scene, which I do feel like a lot of shows try to emulate. Now, this is probably diverting from the witch a little bit, but I've noticed a lot of shows attempt to do Whedonisms, and they don't know how to do it. It's really interesting. He seems to have that that craft really done incredibly well. Because rewatching Firefly, Buffy, Dollhouse, he's really got that craft down to himself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any sort of thoughts there.
No, I definitely think doing a Whedonism is like, I mean, it's called a Whedonism for a reason. Like, switching up my overlay here, but he it's like something he created, he mastered, he knows what will and won't work ultimately with it. And I think a lot of people can't get the tone of it. Like, it's a very specific, very very different tone, and you have to hit the right notes. And as much as he's a creeper and we don't want him around, I think he can be like, you can look at his work and understand how to do it. It's just a lot of people, they take the cheap route versus like actually trying to understand the base of the Whedonism. And I think I think you
hit the nail on the head there. It's like the Temu version of Whedon.
Yeah.
When you watch a lot of these like new shows, it's fucking the Chinese knockoff version of Whedon. It's cheap, it's lazy, and it just doesn't hit the same way. It's fascinating to see, actually.
Yeah. And it's so, I think too, like, I think there are some directors and writers who have taken it and kind of perfected it. Like, if you've watched the new Halloween series, right, you have all these interesting, different characters who are all quirky in their own ways. Like, you have Big John and Little John. You have the older couple at the beginning of Halloween Kills. And I think that is Whedonism perfected. That's what I think that is Joss Whedon was onto something when he started his whole journey. He's like, people are individuals and they're quirky, and you have to grab onto that and kind of change the tone of your show around the tone of your characters first. Because like, if you have Faith from, season 1, episode 1 as the Slayer, you have a completely different show. Like, I can't even like fathom how much that would change, but it would change drastically and significantly.
Well, 'Cause-
even if, like, she accepted being the Slayer.
Well, 'cause-
she accepted being the Slayer.
It'd be,
Even if, like, she accepted being the Slayer.
It'd be far more serious because
Yeah.
Faith's character ultimately is she doesn't really have any comic relief. I can't think of anything where she's comic relief. She's far more serious.
I think her, instead of comic relief, and this is an interesting thing about Faith's character. I think Faith had a rough family life. I can't remember the exact details, but instead of having comic relief, she has sexual relief. Like, she will sleep with a guy and just kind of get it out of her system, and she's like, "All right, back to business. I had
Xander?
my fun." Yeah, yeah, and which leaves Xander like, "What the fuck?" Which I think is so funny. But anyway, like that's kind of like
She tries it with
Faith.
Angel as well.
Yeah, yeah. Faith doesn't do like comic relief so much as and if she does do comic relief, it's like an insult. Like she will, she'll take the floor out from under your, or the rug out from under your feet, just to get a little laugh for a second, and then she carries on.
Yeah.
And to her, it's not even so much about, it's just about releasing tension. And Buffy doesn't have that tension in her character. Like, I mean, her family is, her parents are separated. She's living with her mom. Her dad lives in a different city. He comes and visits on the weekends. And we see in the Nightmare episode that it is something that she thinks about. Am I the reason my parents got divorced? Does my dad love me? Does he actually enjoy spending time with me? So it's not that Buffy doesn't have these these thoughts or these feelings or anything deep or dark going on inside that little head. She would rather be positive and power through, whereas Faith is not that person. You have
Well,
people who,
ultimately, what happens later on? We're not really spoiling anything. This is so old now.
right.
Faith kills someone, and I guess what you're trying to say there is Buffy's controls her urges, including sexual, because her and Angel engage in what they do, which is what ultimately turns Angel evil, and then they know they can't do that again. So she has to control herself, her urges.
Well, and the other thing
Whereas
about
Faith,
Buffy is Buffy actually like values men, whereas Faith doesn't value relationships as much.
no, no, correct, and Faith is like just that chaotic. Just fucking do it. Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
consequences be damned.
and she's used to every man for himself. Whereas Buffy, even though her parents are separated, they're like, "We still love you. We're a family. You can come to us." Like, that kind of an attitude. And so she grew up in a loving home. And she grew up
Yes.
with a support system, whereas Faith clearly didn't. And so Faith is coming from, like, if you have Faith season 1, episode 1 as the Slayer, like, she's roughing it. Like, she doesn't trust her watchers because she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" Like, I don't even know you. Even if I did know you, like, I don't trust you. It's every man for himself out in these streets, man. Like, and Buffy's just not coming from that place. So
Well, poor Wesley really suffers with Faith.
yeah, yeah. And
He-
it's not even his fault. Like, some of it, you're like, "Okay, guy, maybe
no.
calm down." But, like, at the end of the day, it's because she doesn't respect men. Specifically, she sees them as, they're just trying to get something from me, and I'm going to get it first, and I'm going to have the laugh. Because if not, then it's going to be the other way around, and I'm not dealing with that shit. So, that, and then on top of that, she's like, "It's every man for himself. I don't need you. I don't know you. Like, who the fuck are you showing up telling me what to do? Like, I know how to handle these streets. You're some tweed clad man with books. Like, shut the fuck up. You don't know anything about the real world," kind of an attitude. Which, I mean, at that point is kind of correct about Wesley, but even, like, it doesn't matter who would have shown up from the Watchers Society. That would have been Faith's go-to. So yeah, just very, like, it's very different. You have to kind of cater your Whedonism to your show, but also to your characters, or else you have snafus, you have lag,
Well,
you have
well, the other problem is that it's written so poorly, so they
yeah,
almost do this like Valley Girl thing where it's like OMG, and then that is the extent of the Whedonism. It's like, oh, that is so last year.
yeah,
It's like, no, it doesn't. It's not just a quippy Valley Girl's line, which is what a lot of people think it is. It's so much cleverer than that.
Yeah, like
And
Cordelia, one of my absolute favorite lines, because I have childhood trauma, like legit childhood trauma, is when Cordelia is like, Buffy almost attacks her or something, and she's like, God, what is your childhood trauma? And
it's episode 1, isn't it? Where she comes around the corner like with the stake.
oh, and it's so damn funny to
It's
me.
so good.
Like, it had me in stitches. The first time I watched it, I had to pause the show because I was laughing so hard. Because I just think it's so fucking funny to say that to somebody. Like, and that's the thing is, like, people, like you said, like, people usually just go, OMG, like, and that's their kind of, like, Whedonism, and it's like, he takes it that next step. Like, Cordelia says some things that you're like, oh my god, girl, like, you need to tone it down, like, shush. Like, you would not want to be in public with Cordelia because, like,
oh god, no.
Season 1, episode 1, Cordelia.
She would shame the shit out of you.
Yeah, no,
And
yeah.
she would relish it as well.
Oh, yeah. And even
But
if you're on her
like...
side and she's not shaming you at the moment, just the stuff she's saying, you're like, oh, God, you can't say that to people, dude. Like, like, that kid's gonna go home and kill himself. Why are you like this? But
there's an episode almost about that with the shooter guy. Danny, is it?
oh, I forgot about that episode.
That's season 2?
I was thinking more
in the clock tower.
Oh, I don't think I've gotten to that episode yet because I'm somewhere in season 2, I think. But I was thinking more too along the lines of the Invisible Girl. Like, there's Cordelia.
That's soon.
Yeah. So Courtney, like, and again, her character arc is phenomenal. I love her as a character. Her dialogue is some of the best. Like, I fucking love when Cordelia is on the screen. And Charisma does such a good job of delivering these lines that you're like, God, that's gotta be, like, really rough to have to say that to somebody, even in a make-believe setting. But, yeah.
You've got to feel a bit sorry for, specifically for me, it would be Charisma Carpenter, Nick Brendan, probably James Marsters would fall into that because they've all been typecast as their characters from Buffy. David Boreanaz has gone off to do his own thing. Willow to a degree, Sarah Michelle Gellar to a degree, Anthony Stewart Head certainly has. Eliza Dushku did movies before, has done movies since.
Yeah.
Seth Green does Rubber Chicken.
Yeah, that's
Family
like
Guy.
Completely different from being Oz.
Yeah. Michelle Trachtenberg, I have to admit, I call her Trachtenberg because I can't stand her, did Gossip Girl and a few other bits and pieces. So most people have gone and done their own things except for, really, Cordelia and Xander and Spike? I mean, James Marsters does music, so
yeah,
he's got his own...
And he just, like,
side hustle.
He's such a, like, it's such an interesting case with James Marsters, because he seems like I would want to work with him on anything, like, you know, like, that sounds amazing, like, to work with him, and he seems so, like, happy to be working, and happy to be, like, just happy to be alive, happy to be here, guys, you know, kind of a deal, like, he seems like that kind of personality, and so, like, it's really crazy that, the only other thing I know that he's done is he was Piccolo in that god-awful live-action Dragon Ball Z movie. And he tells a very funny story about the stunts in that movie. But, like, that's pretty much, like, the only thing he's done aside from... Like, only notable thing he's done aside from Buffy, and his music. And so... And his music isn't even, like, it's not, like, big enough that I'm like, that's why he's not working on anything else.
No, not at all.
You know, I feel so bad about that. I can't imagine
he's selling out venues or anything like that.
Yeah, and I feel so bad because I'm like, he's such a, like, he just seems like such a good guy. Versus, like, Nick Brandon, I understand why he's not doing stuff, you know, when you're addicted to drugs, like, that's what happens. And Charisma, like, I think she, like, with Charisma, I feel bad for her because I think she got into this industry. I think she saw some stuff, maybe experienced some stuff, and was like, I don't want to be in this kind of work environment where this shit continuously happens.
Right.
So I think that's what happened there.
Which explains where she is then a little bit.
Yeah. Versus, I think James Marsters is just, I don't know, like, he's an unplucked talent to me. Like, cast that man in more shit. I want to see him everywhere. Like, he's so, and it's so, like, he really is typecast. Like, the only other thing that I really recall him saying he was doing in interviews and such is he was part of some show that didn't take off, so it was canceled pretty quick, where he is a British guy in a band, and so he has to use his Spike voice, and so like that cracks me up that like he's so good at that British Cockney accent that they use him in those roles.
They let you typecast him for that.
Yeah, but like they won't use him for anything else, and I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, plaster that man everywhere. He's fun. Like, I don't know. And I think he's good looking even now. Like, he's a good looking old guy. He's a silver fox. So
let's have a look. See, I do you know, I haven't even seen him in a long time.
He very much, like, for a long time he would dye his hair like either the Spike color or he would dye it straight black. But now he's got, you can tell it's like that old man gray, which I don't know. I think personally it's fine. But...
He's full on silver fox, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's got those, like, his cheeks are so, like, his facial structure is so very distinct and unique and just very handsome to me. Even before I really even got into the show too much, like, Spike showed up and I was like, that guy's kind of handsome, like, and then he just continuously gets more handsome throughout the show because he's fun to have around, but, yeah.
He's definitely, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but he has clearly aged. I mean, all of them have.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
probably
the person that's least aged is David Boreanaz.
Yeah, yeah, which is
that guy. That guy's doing something strange.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he just has a little bit of baby face. Like, even in Angel, his face is more cut, and yet in Bones, he's beefier, but his face just seems a little like more filled out. So I'm like, he's got baby face going on. Which
sure. Actually, I've got a friend who's like that, and he's my age, and he looks like he's 18. It's actually ridiculous.
Yeah, like I get carded sometimes going to rated R movies, and I'm 30. So, you know, you sometimes you have that kind of like physical presence too, and I think David Boreanaz has that like cheeky smile that makes him seem younger. But yeah, he's aged the least out of all of these. Maybe Allison Hannigan too. I haven't looked at her in a while, but
I'm sorry, I'm looking at IMDb and I forgot that David Boreanaz was in that terrible I'm sure you've seen it, horror film Valentine.
Yeah.
That was bloody awful.
Yep, that's pretty much the only other thing. Like, it cracked me up because to see that, just because I'm like, you have Sarah Michelle Gellar, she goes on and does like Scream 2, and then she also does I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then David Boreanaz is in Valentine, and I'm like, that's just too damn funny to me. I don't know, something about that cracks me up. Such a bad film.
Denise Richards and Katherine Heigl are in that as well. Holy cow! I completely, you know, I might have to rewatch it just for like the, oh my god, that's terrible sort of. Banter of it. I mean, and Denise Richards is easy on the eyes as well.
Yeah, that movie does have some beautiful people in it. Like,
it does have some beautiful people in it.
For how bad it is, at least there's beautiful people in it.
So last time we spoke, I'd mentioned that Sarah Michelle Gellar was in Cruel Intentions. Did you actually ever get around to watching that?
I have not watched it yet, but it does. Like I said, it does seem like, I don't know, like. I do want to watch it because it's like, what the fuck is this premise, bro?
Maybe we should just do like a random
Cruel Intentions,
not really Buffy episode. Just talking about Cruel Intentions because that's just hilarious. So let's try and wrap up The Witch.
Yeah.
Because we're bantering about Buffy and not really about the episode. I'd say a solid 6. It's a decent monster of the week. I love a few lines specifically, like you said, with Cordelia and the Buffy ooh juice. Love that. Typical Whedonisms. And the ending, again, this is a sort of a typical Buffy where she kicks the mirror to reflect the witch's cast power, shall we say, to reflect on her, and then trap her inside the trophy.
Yeah.
So that's that sort of quick thinking Buffy. I love those few bits, but really, it's mostly filler. It's
Yeah.
like when you get an album and you go, "Yep, I enjoyed that track," but it's not one that I'd go back and replay immediately. I'll play it when I play the album. I'll play it when I play the season, but I'm never going to go, do you know what I want to watch? I want to watch that episode specifically.
Yeah.
It's not it's not strong enough to stand on its own.
That's how I feel about it as well. I think even when Amy comes back in later episodes, you're like, what episode was she in again? Like, where did this bitch come from? Like, I know I've seen her on this show before.
Yeah.
Especially in this episode, she's such a non-character because she's not doing the witchcraft
She
yet.
is.
It's her mom.
Because it's the
So
mom that's involved way more, correct. And Amy as a character is, relatively wet. She's sort of just kind of just a non-offensive, just kind of there. Whereas this mom, the mom is the monster of the week ultimately.
which I'm kind of sad we don't get more of the mom being like the mom because that
She's
lady.
a fox.
Yeah, well,
She's a fox.
and she's so good. Like, she's so good at both, like, portraying meek Amy and then switching to I'm big bad mom now. Like,
Psychotic mother, yeah.
I was, like, so impressed. I'm like, it's too bad that she gets trapped in that trophy forever.
I mean, again, that's sort of typical for Buffy and Angel. You always have these characters who are just like mega foxes, even though they're like 40 years old or whatever. Yeah, I'm saying I'm 40. Like Julie Benz as well. I mean,
Yep.
she's just such a babe.
Yep.
What a mega babe.
Even, like,
Next episode is
thinking about Anthony Stewart Head, too. I'm like, he's a handsome old guy. Like,
he's a very handsome chap, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just, this show's full of beautiful people.
So Anthony Stewart Head's daughter. Have you ever watched The Inbetweeners? It's very very English, I know.
I've not.
But
I think I've heard of it, though.
so it's very you Yanks did attempt to do a Americanized version of The Inbetweeners. I've seen it. It's pretty bloody awful. Watch the English one. But Anthony Stewart Head's daughter is one of the main characters in it. I didn't realize until I was like, wait. And she kind of looks sort of, like her, but apparently he's got a couple of daughters, and they're both in acting as well.
Oh, that's crazy.
So there you go. Anthony Stewart Head's daughters in The Inbetweeners.
There you go.
And, yeah, kind of a main character.
What a pretty. Yeah, that's hilarious. I didn't know that. Which, I mean, it makes sense that he's got kids. I mean, he's, like I said, he's a handsome fella, so.
He's been around a bit.
Yeah.
So next episode's Teacher's Pet. I think we should probably do Teacher's Pet and Never Kill a Boy in the First Day. So I think we should probably do a double whammy because
these are just Monster of the Week episodes.
They're Monster of the Week episodes, and for me, Teacher's Pet is nearly skippable.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but I know I don't terribly enjoy it. Although the teacher is a Mega Fox again.
Yeah.
They always have these Mega Fox characters. But yeah, it's not a great episode. Let's be honest.
No, and I think part of it is still trying to figure out these characters, and I think part of it is sometimes the Monster of the Week is just tedious. You're like, really, guy? Could you just not do that right now, right here, right now? Like, we're trying to fight the master or whatever.
Coffee says, "Okay, you fake Buffy fans." what makes you say that, Coffee? Why we fake Buffy fans? Because I don't enjoy.
She doesn't enjoy giant lady premantis.
Teacher's Pet, yeah. Where they take those the eggs home, and it's also goofy, but
yeah, I love the one where they take the eggs home just because of the two Southern vampires that show up in that episode. They're two of my favorite villains.
Oh, they're so good, aren't they? Yeah.
Like just their banter. I was like, why can't we have more of them? They're so good to me.
They die really early as well.
Yeah. They die that episode. Or the one does. The other one just runs off, and I don't think we see him again. She does,
yeah.
Which makes me so sad because they're just your Southern idiots. Like, it's the dumbest, like, at someone from the south of America, you know, south of North America, like, you know, it's kind of like hateful to be like, look at these dumb Southern idiots, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what it feels like living in the South.
What I love about that
Coffee
episode
said I liked that episode. Sorry, Coffee.
Is that Xander cooks the egg.
Yes.
And again, that's such a typical Xanderism. It's like, you know, everyone else is suffering, and Xander's just like, oh no, I'm fine with the egg, throwing it around. It's because he's bloody boiled it, the cheeky kid.
Yeah.
It's so well done. There's these little touches all the way through where, like, in retrospect, it's brilliant.
And that's what I think, like, the show does so well, is it keeps in mind each character and their personality. And so it's like, if you didn't have Xander in that episode, you don't get that boiled egg, you know, versus, like, Xander as a character is gonna boil that egg. Like, if Spike were in the episode, you know, for some reason in high school doing the same thing, he'd probably do that too. Like, but, you know, you've got to keep in mind each of your characters and their personalities and what they're gonna do and all of that stuff. So, and Xander's an let's take the easy way out kind of a guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's go cheat mode. I wonder if we do a triple whammy, because the pack is so it goes Teacher's Pet, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date, in the pack. Out of those three, the pack is one of my favorites.
Same.
I adore the pack. Again, that's a Xander heavy episode. So is Teacher's Pet, actually, because the teacher.
Yeah, I mean, she's going after
Xander.
Xander.
To him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The deal with that one is she's a praying mantis that feeds on young male virgins. So, like, Xander is prime material for that.
So he's prime material. Yeah. I absolutely adore the pack, so I wonder maybe we do that as its own episode, because
I think so too. Just because I will talk way more about the pack than Teacher's Pet and the next one than I will about because the pack is the pack is such a fun, good episode. That's got to be like that's one of my favorites. Music.
It's probably one of the best of season 1. Yeah, great music.
Especially for a Monster of the Week episode, it's so good. Like,
exactly, yeah. It's not if you know, that's a fair point, because as a Monster of the Week is one of the better. As a, like, continuing the Buffy master story, then maybe not. Maybe the last 2 episodes among the best.
Yeah, I really like the Angel episode, because the Angel episode just highlights this fun thing of we're in the 21st century now. So, like, Buffy shows up with a crossbow and Darla just pulls out a gun, and I'm like, that's like one of my favorite. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's one of my favorite Buffy is when they're like, I'm just gonna pull out a gun, and you're like, oh my god, we can still do that in this universe. You're right.
I feel like such a prick, because I sit here going, oh, Xander's my favorite, Faith is my favorite, but genuinely, like, so many characters are flipping brilliant, and Darla's another one where you go, you know, she's not any. It's amazing that she's like the first character we see, like, literally episode 1, first 10 seconds, Darla's there, but by the end of Angel, well, not the end of Angel, she dies, what, season 4, 3 or 4 she dies?
Yeah.
When she gives birth to Connor. She's just brilliant, and her character, again, this is why I'm so strong in defense of Angel over Buffy. The characters are developed so much better. Buffy, Wesley, Darla, and Cordelia, Lorne even, to a degree, gun less so. Yeah. But all the characters are, like, so well rounded by the end that you just can't help but love those characters. And that includes Darla, who's a psychotic bitch.
Yeah, well, and
she's great.
Yeah. I think too, Angel was a little bit more bold with what they were doing as far as the characters go, whereas Buffy, I feel like the Buffy show kind of plays it safe with its characters and their development, versus, like, an Angel, it's like, oh no, we're gonna make her a god, like, and then she's gonna really shine, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a fucking weird choice, but do what you gotta do.
So Coffee says that Darla was his favorite character, and I wouldn't blame you. Like, she's just absolutely wonderful, and I adore the episodes where they go back in time and they sort of develop that the Master turned her because she was a big old prosy, and then she turned Angel, and then Angel turned
Drusilla.
was Drusilla, and then Drusilla did go into Spike, and you have this lineage of vampires which is so well developed,
Yeah.
especially in Angel, and Darla is actually kind of, you know, amongst the most powerful, which is why when rewatching that episode, I know we discussed about this last time, it was a little bit depressing to see Darla being so sort of prissy and weak, because we know what she's actually like.
Yeah.
And I know that's because they developed her over time, and maybe initially she was never going to be there for very long. But she is just fantastic. She also appears in what's that alien show?
Are you talking the one with Alan
It's got
Tudyk? Or a different one?
no, not Alan Tudyk. No. It's got Roswell. It's called Roswell.
Oh, okay.
She's in that as
She's
well.
also
Yeah.
in
I don't know if you
Dexter.
ever... Is she in Dexter?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's
I need to
like
give that.
Dexter's wife or something like that.
Interesting. I might have to give that a proper watch then. Yeah, she's a teacher in Roswell. She's not in for very long. She's like season 1 of Roswell, but she's, I mean, she's great.
I
She's
read
absolutely
too in an interview with Joss Whedon on The Vulture. It was after all this stuff started coming out about Joss, and they reached out to him about an interview, and he said he was scared to do the interview. He agreed to it, and he said, "I'm dead scared because anything I say is going to make me look worse." And I was like, wow, very not confident in your abilities to not be doing wrong then. But
Yeah.
she was one of the females who was sleeping with Joss, and so I'm wondering
Oh, really?
if that isn't how she
Oh,
got more time over on Angel. You know, you sleep with the guy who's
interesting.
writing the
Okay.
thing, then you're gonna
Then of
get
course you get a bit more screen time. Yeah.
yeah. And I want to say too, Coffee, I love the Halloween store episode. It definitely gives R.L. Stine vibes, and it's just a lot of chaotic fun. And Spike is having a good time. It's just a good time, that episode.
I may have to correct it. This is going to be maybe somewhat controversial. Teacher's Pet is amongst the lowest, but actually the puppet show with the talking puppet where the
Yeah.
guy's trapped in it. Now, it's funny, but it's another episode I feel like I can skip.
Yeah. That one is
Is that maybe the worst? I don't know. It just
I
but there's some really funny moments in it, actually. Like, watching back, because there's like the bit where the kid sat there on stage and the puppet starts talking, and he's like completely bewildered by the fact that the puppet's talking.
Yeah.
He's so shit. He's like, oh, and then he takes over as if that's like the bit.
Yeah. And I love
I don't
too
know.
when he's in class and the puppet is like, "Hey, you leave him alone," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, puppet! Like, you're not helping him right now. You just got his ass into more trouble. Shut the fuck up, man." But yeah, that episode I think is so like, I don't know, like something about, like, to me, like kind of the gag in that one is about the puppet's personality is
It's a
he's
bit one
horny.
note.
He's a horny puppet,
Yeah,
and
it's a bit one note, isn't it?
yeah,
And it's the problem is, it's 45 minutes of kind of the same joke.
yeah.
So if it was like a 20-minute episode, it might have been like a bit of a doozy. But instead, I think it's maybe because it's too long.
Yeah.
Then we got Nightmares, which is fucking great.
That-
That might be amongst the best episodes. That might be the best episode of the season. Nightmares is amazing.
I mean, it gives you such a good look into Buffy's emotional life.
Yes. This probably says a lot about me, to be honest, because my preference is Angel over Buffy. More darker, more straight. Nightmares, more darker, more straight. Prophecy Girl, more darker, more straight. Clearly, I've got a bit of a penchant for the darker, straighter, more sinister stuff. Apparently.
Well, I like things that feel like Buffy does this thing where you have these fun, goofy episodes, and then you have these episodes that really feel sinister and that really feel like these characters are in danger. And sometimes it's just physically and sometimes it's emotionally. And I think the ones that really strike well with me are the episodes where they are physically and emotionally endangered.
Right.
That's what I like. I like that dark stuff where it's like, oh my gosh, this is gonna break her. Let's fucking do it. Like, you know, kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So I'm going
true
to sound
coffee.
ignorant. I'm going to sound very ignorant, but who the hell is R.L. Stein?
So, you know Goosebumps? Like, the show, the movie, the books.
Yeah.
That's him. R.L. Stein does all of those.
Right. So the Goosebump series.
Yes, yeah. He's the author of those.
So I feel like I'm a little too old for that because what am I, 40? How old am I? 42. So I think Goosebumps. I remember my sisters reading and that, but I never read it or watched it or anything. I don't know if it ever made it over to the UK really. Anyway,
That's another thing is, like, it could be just that it didn't make it, you know, it wasn't something that, like, culturally translated well. Like, literally it's the same language, but you guys have a completely different culture over there than we do. So...
yeah, to a degree.
Yeah. Like, we do share similarities, no, don't get me wrong, but there are certain things that, like, the British people will do that an American is like, that's fucking weird, and vice versa.
Well, you did chase us out your beautiful country, so
It was on purpose, you know, so purposefully we're a little different.
I'm waiting for my invite back, you know.
Hey, I'll send you one, bro. Come on over.
What I'm hoping is that that Trump goes, hey, if you're a beautiful South African born bald-headed 42-year-old man, you're welcome.
Who drums and likes
on,
Buffy.
that's me. And then I'll make my way over. We were discussing about this earlier. Actually, I was saying I'd head over. I mean, I'd head over in a heartbeat, but I'd probably be Bible Belt. Because someone was like, "Where would you go?" I was like, "It'd probably be like Texas, Virginia, that sort of middle Bible Belty area. Somewhere
Tennessee.
Around there. I'd consider Florida, Tennessee. Yeah,
Tennessee's
I'd
good.
consider Florida.
Don't ever
But
live
it'd
in
probably be
Georgia.
North Florida.
Oof.
What's wrong with Georgia?
Georgia's fucked. Or it's just fucked.
Oh, because of the corruption there, or
Oh yeah, like I have a lot of personal stories where, yeah, Georgia's just corrupt. The cops are assholes.
Right?
It's, you know.
So when you watch the show, it goes made in Georgia. It's not a good show.
No. I'm okay with it. Like, it's just I'm like I God bless you for living there. I don't think I ever could. Like, it's just.
I thought Georgia was meant to be quite a beautiful state, though.
It is very beautiful. I enjoy being there for brief periods of time, depending on where I'm at and what we're doing. The Blue Mountains are amazing. They've got some cool river rafting areas that are just gorgeous, but...
I adore the Blue Mountains. I've watched so many things about the Blue Mountains, and it's because a lot of it's like ex-mining towns as well.
Yep, very cool.
And so where I currently live it's all ex-mining towns around here. So it's very similar, where you've got these like small towns or cities that have been decimated, where it was a strong mining population, and now it's like nothing. It's just like drugs and kind of depression.
That's
and so I can see like similarities for. So I'm in South Wales, and the Blue Mountains of South Wales have got a lot in common. It's really interesting to see, but I mean, Blue Mountains are probably more beautiful, arguably. I mean, it's beautiful. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
I'll need to look at photos. I'll compare it. I'll get back with you on that. My opinion on that. But yeah, no, it's a lot of. I used to joke because we would go up there for retreats for church and such, and the kids who grew up with me, we would go, and they would be like, "What's that shack?" Because there's just random shacks all throughout like those areas.
Yes.
Where it's like that was probably used as like a home or maybe like a base for like a mining thing or something, but like now it's just an old derelict shack. And so I used to call them hobo shacks. I'm like, that's where the homeless people live. And so these kids that I grew up with grew up believing that, because I was like, that's where the hobos live. That's the hobo shack. You just don't go in there. You just leave them alone. It's fine.
Well, we've sort of drifted away from talking about Buffy. Was there anything else before we probably think about winding this up?
No,
Specifically about the witch, because we were meant to be talking about that, and we've kind of more just. We need to try and. I apologize to everyone. I apologize, Coffee. Apologize, Mooney.
Same though.
I
mean,
that...
we kind of like pussyfooted around the whole episode just because it's such a like.
Well,
it's
not a great. It's
fine episode.
It's a good episode.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
Yeah, it's just it's fine. Like, I don't mind watching it. But like you said, I would never be like, hey, you know what episode I really want to watch? Let's put on that witch episode.
Exactly right. I watched it, I enjoyed it, and I'll probably not think about it for a long time.
I have a lot to say once we get to Once More with Feeling, just because it's so like the stuff surrounding that episode is so interesting to me, and then also what Joss Whedon himself, excuse me, I hiccuped, what he has to say about the episode after the fact is very interesting as well. So when we get to that one, I will full vamp on it.
I'm gonna go with Coffee on this one. It's actually amongst my least favorite as well, but
it's one of those ones where you either love it or you're like, I don't ever need to watch that again. Like,
well, my problem is I detest musicals.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I adore music and somewhat musically inclined, shall we say, but I cannot bear musicals, and I think I haven't really thought about it too much, but I think the reason is that for me, like, music is its own format, and I don't like crossing the two, and musicals tend to be quite camp and silly, and I mean that even applies for Once More with Feeling.
I think it especially applies to Once More with Feeling.
So it's like camp and goofy, and I like maybe I'm just too much of a serious human, because I like my music being sort of quite serious and stoic and whatever. So I've never particularly enjoyed musicals. Like, the closest I can say is I kind of don't mind Grease to a degree, but that's like kind of maybe it.
I like Grease too better than Grease, just because it embraces that campiness, and it like to me it's that balance of, this is super campy, like no one's singing about this, but you're singing about it, you fucking weirdo, and like they'll be like singing about the most serious thing and everybody's dancing and you're like, why is this, like, we're singing about like people dying or whatever the fuck, like stop, like you have to pick a lane. Whereas Grease 2 is like, no, let's just go full camp and be absolute ridiculous. Like, that's totally fine. And I'm like, yes, it is totally fine. You picked a lane. I'm glad you're in the right lane.
Whilst we're talking about banger episodes, or what's considered banger episodes, another one that's highly regarded is Hush.
Yes.
Before we get to there, what's your sort of 20-second take on Hush?
I think there's something, because of my personal trauma, that episode gave me nightmares when I first saw it. And sure. It's because of, I have no mouth and I must scream. Like, there's something that is your first go-to when you are hurt, when you are in danger. Your go-to is you scream for help, or you scream about whatever it is. And so to have absolute no voice.
It's got a very deep meaning to you then.
Yeah, well, and like I said, like, coming from a place where, you know, I my childhood trauma was one where, you know, even screaming didn't help. And so this kind of episode, it really touched on...
Resonates.
Yeah, it touched on that trauma. And I think it's very interesting that it was written, you know, and I'm like, you guys probably haven't gone through the same trauma I have, so how did you... dig it, like, how did you locate in on this, like, very distinct scent of fear, I guess you could say, because it's like
yeah, so I really like it, and it was. I remember at the time being very impressed because I couldn't recall another show that had done something so clever where it's just silent till literally the end.
Yeah.
Um, it was so cleverly done, and there's a reason it's really highly regarded.
Yeah.
Hush made me think of Dark City. Dark City is an incredible film. A very deep cut there. I don't think many people know of Dark City.
Yeah, I don't know
I
what that
think
is.
I think if I'm not mistaken, Dark City came out the same time The Matrix did,
Okay.
and it just kind of got lost in the noise. Hey, Resnum, how's it going? Can you get into Buffy?
That's funny,
Love the
right?
movie. Waiting to Anne Rice before Buffy, so everything seemed like a rip-off of Rice. Oh, okay.
That's funny. Dark City's a
Dark City's
masterpiece, though.
very. Yeah. So have you not seen Dark City?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I mean, we could. How is it? How easy is it to do like a watch party?
I do not know. I would assume you just invite someone to share a video call, or you have your own. If you have your own Discord, which you could use mine even. You just share your
Okay, so Dark
screen and watch party it up.
came out in not 8, not 99. So maybe it didn't come out at the same time as Matrix. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I thought it came out at the same time. Who was the director? Oh, the
Jennifer
guy who did The
Connelly,
Crow.
I guess.
I love The Crow as well. Man, he's done some good films, eh?
The guy who did The
Also
Crow.
done.
Who was that?
Alex Proyas apparently.
Okay.
He did The Crow, Dark City, iRobot, good. No In, pretty shit. Gods of Egypt, pretty shit.
Yeah, the Gods of Egypt one was.
But Dark City, I mean, like he did two fucking bangers of a movie. Jennifer Connelly, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you hit, sometimes you lose your motivation, sometimes it's a swing and a miss. It's fine. As if you've got at least one banger, there you go. That's all you need. Like, you're still going to get work.
Well, yeah. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go and I'm gonna carry on watching Buffy. I think I'm gonna do similar to what you've done. I'm gonna kind of blitz a bit through because we're gonna. It's probably easier that we blitz through and just talk about chunks rather than necessarily one episode at a time because it's going to take us too long to do this. But
Yeah.
more importantly than all that, you're going to watch Cruel Intentions, and you're going to come back to me and you're going to go, Logic, what the fuck did you make me watch?
All right.
What the fuck was Sarah Michelle Gellar thinking? What the fuck? What's the fuck?
That's one of
go,
those ones too that like people are like, oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they're talking about like the highlights, and they're like Scream 2, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Buffy, and nobody talks about Cruel Intentions. So yeah, I'm gonna check that out because now I'm curious. Like, what the fuck?
Maybe it says more about me that Cruel Intentions is my highlight. Maybe I'm a massive pervert. It's just Logic's just been a complete creep.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, but like, hey, they made the movie. It's not your fault, man. You just watched it.
I just watched it. I was a young kid at the time. I was corrupted by it. There were many movies that came out in '98. Saving Private Ryan, Blade, What Dreams May Come True, Vampires. Blade is fucking brilliant.
Blade fucking rips. I love that movie.
Blade is fucking brilliant.
Was the last season of Buffy like what the fuck? It was yeah. It was a little what the fuck. I'm gonna have to say.
Yeah, you kind of missed out a little bit, Coffee, because we last episode. I mean, we spoke almost 2.5 hours, wasn't it? It was ages.
Yeah.
And we spoke about the first two episodes of Buffy. The idea. So we originally pre-Christmas found out that we both love Buffy, and we're like, right, let's talk about this. Let's do a podcast about it. And the idea originally was we're going to do one episode per episode, so matches. And the problem is both. I mean, I've got a 4-month-old boy, so I'm busy doing daddy duties. and we're just like busy people. So
Yeah. Also in a
we're gonna have
completely
to
different time zone, so that's always
different
a little
time
rough
zones.
too.
We're gonna have to condense it down. But the last episode, we just spent about 2 hours going, "Oh, I love Buffy, wank, wank, wank. I love Buffy, wank, wank, wank," and didn't really. I mean, we did talk about the episodes, but it was more just about how much we love Buffy. But yeah, for me, season 7 is pretty guff overall.
There's a lot of misses in that episode, in that
There's a
season.
lot of misses.
There's a lot of fun little things, I think, in each episode that kept me engaged enough. And that's because I'm a Spuffy person. But I also really liked the new principal, that guy. I liked his kind of arc. I'm with him, like Angel more. Yeah, no, and I think too, like, Angel just took a lot, like I've said before, I think Angel just took a lot more chances with character development versus Buffy kind of played it safe as far as character development goes, except with Buffy.
But I'm gonna disagree there because they brought in Lorne, who's he's an unusual character, not just because he's a green demon, but because of the fact that the original, I can't remember the guy who played him, but sadly he died. But he is who was a lounge singer, and I mean it's just such an unusual casting. But that's why Lorne is a singer, an empath demon, because it's just such an unusual casting, and they took. There's a lot of episodes there, especially with the Gruselug and when they go back to wherever Lorne was from, where it's a little bit miss. So then the mid angel can get a bit goofy.
Yeah.
And Connor, the kid who played Connor, needs to be punched right in his clitoris.
I cannot disagree.
Yeah. Fuck that kid. Replace him with anyone else, and it'll be better.
Choice. Yeah.
But by the end of Angel, there's so. Oh, okay, I know I said this last time, but I remember vividly. So the end of is it season 3 or 4? 3, where Cordelia's becoming a god. She's floating up. Angel's put in that coffin by Connor and. Oh, what was the guy's name?
And the lawyer guy, right?
No, not Lindsay. Not Lindsay. It wasn't Lindsay.
Yeah, that's the gayest name. It's just that's like a terrible choice for a name. I'm sorry.
Lindsay is a fucking fantastic character. He's amongst my favorite.
I do like him as a character. I fucking hate his name. I'm like, please, just give him any other name, please. That's so like 17th century.
It's the cowboy guy, wasn't it? Or was it? Anyways, sorry, Angel's going down into the water, drowning, and Cordelia's going up, and I was literally on the edge of my seat, almost in tears, going, "What the fuck has just happened?" And that's the end of the season. And this is the old days where you couldn't just binge watch it; you had to wait a whole fucking year before the next episode came out, before you found out what happened. So I was sat there going, what the shit have they just done to me, you bastards?
You bastards.
I remember that vividly. So good. So fucking good. Unfortunately, they kind of guffed up with what they did with Cordelia being the... Oh, and they also had... oh, God, what's his name now? The guide for Cordelia.
I'm dead red.
With the spike on the face. Oh, fuck me. What was it? Skip.
Skip, okay.
Skip. He's a fantastic character. Look, when you get to Angels, Skip is brilliant. He's so good because he's like this mega demon. He's just like, all right, mate, how's it going? I'm Skip.
Yeah,
it's great.
There's like some stuff that I need to go back and rewatch Angel as well, just because like I skipped through like one of the seasons. I was like, this is too weird for me, and I was like, let me pick up somewhere random further on down the line where maybe the storyline is over. So I like missed a chunk of it, but I did like Angel a lot. Like I said, like I like the fact that I was like, I want to continue with this series. I just don't like this storyline. Let me skip it, and like
so
picked up somewhere
Angel
else. That says a lot.
Angel suffers where they go back to wherever the Gruselug was. It's a weird sort of setting, and then when Connor comes back and he's like a teenager, that suffers around there as well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that's down to the actor of Connor, because when they have Connor the baby, it's brilliant. I think it might be some of the best Angel for me.
I'm totally okay with Connor the baby. Like, it's so funny because we talked about this last episode where Buffy and Angel is actually like a precursor to Twilight. But yeah, I was completely fine with, like, I was like, oh, this is like Twilight but cool, like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he becomes a teenager and he starts, I remember specifically he kind of gets horny for Cordelia or something, and it just started looking that way, and I was like, I don't want this.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: they fuck.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want this. This is something I didn't ask for.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense in hindsight when you know that like Cordelia isn't really Cordelia anymore.
Yeah.
But that whole thing is just, it's gruesome. It's really, really gruesome.
Yeah. And I
Smallville was a guilty pleasure. I've never watched Smallville.
I think I've seen a couple episodes. I remember the guy playing Superman being very handsome. That's what I remember about Smallville.
I know what he looks like, but I don't know his name. And I know he's got that hot girl that was the brunette that... No, she wasn't Lois. She was the other one.
That show was also probably another show just filled with a lot of beautiful people.
Unbelievably beautiful women, yeah. Maybe I should give it a go.
Yeah. I've always wanted to watch it. I've never... I'm not a TV show person. It takes a lot to pique my interest and then keep my interest. I think Once Upon a Time maybe kept me for 3 seasons and then I was done with it. And I was like, I just don't have any motive. I don't give a fuck anymore. Which is interesting, which is one of the reasons why I like Buffy so much, is because I'm like, kudos to Buffy for keeping my interest start to finish. And same with Angel. I feel like it kept my interest. It's just, I was like, this is not the storyline I want. Stop fucking Cordelia. That belongs to Angel. How dare you? Like, you know?
Yeah.
That is your father's girlfriend, you freak.
Oh, it's wrong on... It's poorly written, unfortunately. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not... They're not Whedon written... Well, I mean, he didn't write all of it, obviously, but I'd be very surprised if he was, like, heavily involved with it.
Yeah.
The other one that I'm about to start is Babylon 5, because I'm a big Star Trek and, sci-fi sort of geek. And I've always heard Babylon 5's, like, the best sci-fi.
Oh.
Every time I've started it, I've really struggled. It's like, supposedly season 1's fucking hard to get through, which is one thing that's really good about Buffy.
Yeah.
Season 1 isn't difficult to get through. It's actually very watchable.
Yeah.
But I have tried a couple times and I've never gone through season 1, so I'm going to give it a fair crack.
We were talking about this last time too, about how hard it is to start a show and carry on, like, and keep people's interests. Like, TV shows are so easy to... They're like Kleenex. They just, okay, we're gonna use it one season, we're done. No one watched it. Fuck it.
Spaff away.
And I think a lot of times studios just don't give it enough time. But at the same time, I also think a lot of the season 1 struggles are, who are these characters? How do they interact with each other? What do they really feel? What are they really like? And I think Buffy doesn't suffer from that. Like, it's crazy how... And I think it's because of the Buffy movie. Buffy is a very well thought out character. She's got a backstory. Like, we were talking about this last time where episode 1, I'm like, did I miss something? Because what the fuck is all this nonsense about a gym fire? Like, what are we talking about here? And she talks about my previous watcher was killed, and I was like, who is that? How do I know that stuff?
You don't have to watch the movie, but it definitely helps.
Yeah, well, and I think, too, it helped create Buffy, the character, as she is on the show. Like, it helped inform her character. And so when Sarah Michelle Gellar gets this role and she steps into it, there's already a built universe for her. She already understands where her character is coming from, what her character has been through, what her character is like. She wants to be the cheerleader, as we see in this episode. She likes that stuff. However, she's also the Slayer, and therefore must give that up in order for the good of all of the world, basically.
Well, she's a typical Valley girl that's been thrown into a supernatural situation, basically, which is it's such a clever twist.
Yeah.
That
And it's
that,
also
like,
such a
and again,
fun...
it's a typical Whedonism.
Yeah, it's so, like, it's such a fun idea, too. And I think that's why it's prevailed for so long, and why they're even considering a reboot now, which... I want everyone to know, Logic has said this, like, right before Christmas, so that was before all this talk of a Buffy reboot. We decided we should start talking about Buffy.
Yeah, well, it's quite funny because, like, so this was, like, what, November, December, we said we're going to do this. So it's long before this reboot talk was going to happen. I kind of wish we'd done it earlier, because now it looks like we're jumping on the bandwagon, but we're fucking not.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, I'm kind of curious on Coffee's and Retinum's take on this, but I have a sort of prevailing theory, and I said this last season as well, that last episode as well, is that no show should go beyond roughly 3 seasons. Most shows have a noticeable dip in quality post season 3. There are exceptions.
Yeah.
The Office could be one of them. But I think that applies to Buffy. For me, post season 3 has a noticeable downturn. There's very strong episodes. In fact, probably the strongest episodes are in the latter halves. But as an overall, body of work, the first 3 seasons are the strongest.
Yeah, and I think part of that is a lot of Buffy's character kind of... It's not dependent upon Angel, but it does revolve around Angel. And the end of season 3 is
especially
when Angel...
the first 3 seasons.
Yeah, Angel is such a pivotal character for her, because he is the love interest, like capital T, capital L, capital I. Like so when he exits, it's like, who's gonna fill that void? And they don't have a good answer, unfortunately. The answer they come up with is Riley, and it's so funny because I've not seen a single defender of Riley. Everyone's like, fucking Riley. And
the worst.
Yeah, I can't defend him either. Like, good for that actor that he got the job, that he was able to do. And I don't think he did a bad job acting Riley. I think Riley, the character, is a pain in the ass. And I think he's an insecure, emasculate little, like...
He's a femboy.
Yeah, like,
he's a femboy.
He's just such a, like, oh, man. Like, please, just grow up, guy.
So, this kind of goes back to us separating the art from the artist, because, what was the guy's name? Whatever his name was, we can all picture Riley.
Yeah.
Well, I feel sorry for him, because, like, he's
too.
probably a super charming, lovely guy, etc. We were watching something with him with the wife, and I was like, oh shit, that's Riley. That's funny. Or something. I'm sure it's something that the wifey loves. I mean, as Riley, it's bloody awful.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
Are you saying, Coffee, that Xena, Hercules, and TNG all have stronger later seasons? Because I've never watched Xena or Hercules, but I can certainly agree that TNG is fucking rough for season 1 and 2. Like, season 1, there's some really bad episodes in TNG, and I guess by the end of TNG, it's really good. Controversially, we're going into Star Trek chat here. Deep Space Nine, dicks on TNG. Absolutely dicks on TNG, and a lot of people get very upset when I say that, because I adore Deep Space Nine.
That's funny.
Anyways, sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, no, I just think too, like, because of how pivotal Angel is, and I wonder, like, to me, it's like, did they see a money grab opportunity to create a spin-off show, and that's why they let Angel exit, or what? Because, like, he is, not that I'm, a Bangel person, but like I said before, I'm Spuffy, but like, he's such a good love interest. Like, I have no problems with Angel. Like, I think he's a great love interest. I think he's a fun character. I love having him around. And so I think a lot of the fans felt that way, and it's not like anyone was telegraphing Spike and Buffy at the end of season 3. Like, you know,
No, yeah,
that was still way,
yeah.
like, that's still way, quite a ways away, like, completely not on your radar sort of a thing, and hence why Riley steps in, and then Spike ends up being a better solution to Buffy's love life. But
Okay, I've had a
it's
bit of I've had a bit of a thought here. So, like all the music I listen to and the shows I love are like when I was 17, 18, whatever. So, that 2000s era, I still listen to Tool, I still listen to Deftones, I still listen to A Perfect Circle. Like that's all I listen to. Very rarely do I listen to new. I can't think of many modern bands I listen to, right? Um, and I wonder if there's a maybe I'm being biased because when I watched Buffy, the love story of Angel and Buffy was around that period of time for me where it's now sort of like it's more about the memories and the feelings of that time rather than me being objective going Spike and Buffy were a better uh, love story.
I
Maybe it's more about my feelings and those emotions of that time period that I've attached to it.
I think
Does that, if that
probably
does
it's
that make
just
sense?
I think probably it's just preference. Like you like this like from what you say about Angel, you love that he's a long-suffering hero. Like
I love
and
that.
he
Yeah.
really is like that like he gets the soul back, but only so he can suffer. He can never be truly happy or else his soul goes away. Like he really is
Yeah.
like actually just long-suffering hero incarnate. Whereas Spike is just he's the enemies to lovers trope, right? And it's done
Yeah.
in such a weird progression because their relationship is really toxic at the beginning, and he comes back like a kicked puppy. Like he goes and he gets the soul and he comes back, and it's the same effect with Angel where it's like, I have a soul now, so I understand that I did all those things wrong and I'm so sorry. And so he's kind of like the audacity of Spike is just incredible to me because this guy he's kicking this girl's ass. He loves the girl. He has sex with the girl, and then at some point he's like, you know what, I want to actually be a good guy for her. I'm gonna go get a soul. And not even like I want to be a good guy. He's like, that other guy, she likes him better. I'm gonna get what he's got, which is a soul. And then it ends up being like, oh fuck, this sucks. And so to me,
Well,
that progression is so funny, and then also like his reaction to that and Buffy's reaction to that is so like genuine and pure and good that that's why I like it better. It's not like it's a better love story
yeah.
because I don't think it is. I just prefer that one to Angel and Buffy, where it's like that thing that you really really want but you cannot have.
Yeah. Maybe there's an element of that for me as well because I always feel like I'm that sort of long suffering. Do you know what? I'm going to start. This is a very roundabout way of saying this, so I apologize. I kind of hate when people say, "Oh, I'm the quirky guy." Oh, I'm the whatever. You kind of can't say I'm the quirky guy. Someone has to say, "Oh, Logic, he's that quirky guy." That's the way it should be. But I do feel like I'm quite stoic, and I don't. I'm not one to. I try and like keep everything sort of in,
Yeah.
and the wife actually gets very upset with me because what's bothering you? It's like nothing. Leave me alone. Like I feel like I'm like maybe I just relate to that Angel character because that stoicism, that sort of like just that long suffering. The world's on my shoulders, and like I will deal with it somehow.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a
so
very
maybe there's an
Angel
element of
thing.
that. Yeah,
And I think too
it's a
like
very Angel thing. Yeah,
Spike doesn't he's not open about his emotions, but he is openly emotional. All of his emotions turn to anger. He wants to hit something. And so I think
if I,
that's kind of where I relate to him cuz I'm like same, all of my emotions I just turn them into anger and then I go hit something. Like same Spike. Like
what's interesting though is if I could be like if I could choose to be like a certain person, I'd probably be more like Spike, so that more fun-loving, sort of carefree, kind of dangerous. That's probably how I choose to be. But it's interesting. Like
yeah. And I probably relate to Spike in that he is so fun-loving until he's not. Like, he's not
So
very
he's not, yeah.
angry. Even, like, when shit's going wrong, he's like, well, I guess this is, like, just another
An
day in
agent of
life.
chaos.
Yeah. And
Yep, an
so
agent of chaos.
he doesn't mind things going wrong usually, as long as it's not something, like, really important. Like, in the next season, you see him getting upset about Drew's health. But, like, you know, other than that, like, if things are going wrong, he's like, meh, whatever, we'll get through it, until he gets pissed. Like, and once he's pissed, he's fucking pissed. And that's kind of what I like
And
about Spike.
I cannot wait for Drusilla, because Drusilla's against
I love Drew.
I know I've said this about basically every character, but Drusilla is amongst my favorites. She is absolutely fucking wonderful, and she's
Yep.
acted just perfectly.
Yep.
And those two together, like, especially when he gets, well, she's crippled and then he gets crippled later on, so that they sort of take turns looking after each other.
Yeah.
It's so beautifully done. It's really, really good.
I just got to the episode where she's like, do you love me, all of me? And he says, like, eyeballs to entrail sweets. And you're just like, that's so, like, morbid and disgusting, but also cute.
Oh, but so sexy at the same time.
Like, oh my gosh. Spike and Drew are, like, kiss me, you fool kind of, like, characters. Like, it's just so great. Like, I love that. I love their dynamics. And that's the thing is, like, I'm not one of those people who's like, I ship this ship, so, like, fuck anybody else who's ever looked at that character that way. Like, I love Drusilla and Spike. And I love Buffy and Angel, but I just like Spike and Buffy more.
Someone had to explain to me what shipping was, because I'm such an old man, and someone was going, oh, I ship this person. I was like, what the fuck are you smoking? What are you talking about?
Stop putting people in boxes, goddammit!
Yeah, but this is like 3 months ago, because I'm such an old man. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I only know this because someone literally, I mean, she's like 22. She goes, all right, Logic, this is what shipping means. It basically means we take this character and we want them to have sex with that character. It's like, oh, cool, fair enough. So, why can't you just say that? Why shipping? I don't get it.
It's just like a shorter way of saying it, you know? You gotta shorten everything.
I guess so, yeah.
And Coffee, I will talk more about that when we get to that season, because that stuff is some of my favorite and least favorite, because it's so, like, the way Buffy and Spike are at first is so, like, it's so relationships when you can't even love yourself. That's what they look like. And it doesn't matter if you're not a toxic person to other people, or if you're not abusive originally. Like, you are going to abuse the people you love if you do not love yourself. That's a fact.
You think about what happens to Buffy at that time. Didn't she just die to Gloria?
Yeah, and she comes back.
She's all fucked. So she's all fucked up at that point.
Yeah.
And so she's now, like, she's struggling. So Spike is her dark place that she's like, I'm going to. Almost Spike is like that. I hate myself, so I'm going to do something terrible.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, though, is
and
Buffy.
She hides it. If you think about it, they hide it. When Willow finds out about it, she's mortified.
Yeah, and it's because Spike is such a bad guy at first, right? And then on top of that, the only reason he's not killing people is because the chip in his brain for a while. And then, like,
I forgot about that shit.
So Spike is so, like, self-hatred relationship. But at the same time, Buffy knows she can say or do anything in front of Spike, and Spike isn't gonna, like, walk away. Like, she can be like, fuck being the Slayer, fuck my friends, I hate everything, life sucks and it's shit. And he's like, yeah, alright. You want to get naked? Yeah. And she's like, yeah. And that's where Buffy's at that period of her life, because she literally just got pulled out of heaven. Like...
Yeah, she goes, like, anti-angel in a way, you know, because what she couldn't have, and now she's almost just being in the muck is what it is. She's in the mud, she's just splashing around in the mud, and Spike is that mud.
Yeah, and I think too, like, people like miss that even in season 3, Buffy says, like, a line like, I can fool my friends and I can fool Giles, but I can't fool myself or Spike for some reason. Yeah. And Spike, and that's the thing about Spike, is Spike even early on just sees right through Buffy. He understands her for whatever reason.
If I remember correctly, he gets really upset about it because he does genuinely care for her. I guess he doesn't love her being a vampire, maybe, but he's hurt by it because he knows he's nothing but well, fuck meat, basically.
Yeah,
For
he's a
lack of
toy
better,
for her.
for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a boy toy, and he, like, and that's the thing is, like, people one of the basic, like, desires of a human being is to be understood. Like, no one likes to sit there and say something and someone go, oh, you mean this? And you're like, no, I mean what I'm saying. I'm telling you this. Understand fucking this about me. And they're just like, oh, you mean this? And you're like, no, I mean, like, you get pissed off when that happens to you. Everybody does. And so Spike is someone who doesn't need any of that talk. He just understands naturally who Buffy is and where she's standing when she's standing there. Like, he's really good at that. And so that is attractive to everyone on just a base human level.
Yeah.
I found myself interested.
Yeah, we all want to be sort of heard and understood.
And Spike will hear Buffy and understand her, and she knows this guy, even though he's not a great guy, he's not gonna leave. Like, he's done so much worse, so he's like, the fuck am I gonna hold you accountable for? Like, I don't give a shit. Like, you know?
Yeah. Right, well, we're going to have to wrap up because it's approaching 10 o'clock and I've got to go do daddy duties.
Okay.
But this was fun, again. I know we didn't really spend too much time talking about a specific episode, which was our original plan. But I think going forward, we've got a good plan where we're going to try and watch more episodes and sort of do more of a roundup in each stream that we do. We'll sort of round up a couple of episodes rather than one at a time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be here in 4 years' time sort of talking about episode.
We'll be like in 10 years just getting to the start of the reboot or some shit. Like,
yeah, like Angel season 1 is like, oh, for fuck's sake, can we just finish this up?
Yeah, so and if you guys are just coming in, go check out Logic. His link is in my description. You know, watch the episode from the beginning. I'm going to also upload this to YouTube, hopefully, if the recording is actually recording. But we're going to do this again. We talked about we're going to do the next 2 episodes of Buffy, which are... what are they? Teacher's Pet and...
Teacher's Pet and Never Kill a Boy on a First Date.
That's it, which is also kind of a forgettable episode. So we're going to talk about those 2, and then after that we get to a really good episode, which is The Pack. So
The Pack is fantastic.
And
again, like, I know we've sort of really covered this, but it's a shame that Nick is such a bit of a tit IRL, because Zonda is genuinely amongst my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Hell, my boy's middle name is Xander, so.
And again, like, I'm like, maybe we could bring back Nick Brandon's twin to play Xander. Is he more of a shitbag, less of a shitbag? Like, let's get someone on that to, like, discover that, and then, like, maybe let's just cast him as Xander.
If anyone lives in California, go find him and
do an interview. Check out his life.
Well, maybe what we should do is we should invite Nick onto this. We should. I'll tell you what we do. We go into this is my plan, right? If everyone can tip Mooney, right, we'll take that money. We'll go to Cameo. We'll pay Nick Brendan to come onto the show, and we'll do an intervention. We can be like, Nick, we love you, but you're fucked up at the moment. Sort your shit out. Be more like Xander. Be less like Nick.
Yeah.
Sort your shit out.
Yeah.
And we'll do a Rumble intervention.
That would be the funniest shit. Is to invite Nick Brandon on to do an intervention. Oh.
Pay him $100 for his own intervention.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man, that's such a, like, I'm a drug addict kind of a thing to be doing. Yeah, I got paid for my own intervention.
I'm sure it's Cameo, or is it Cameo, or is it Fiverr or whatever it's called?
I don't know. One of those. He does like stuff like that though. Yeah. He would probably come on for 5 minutes if we gave him $100. Like.
I can't see Nick. Oh, it would have been Nicholas, I guess. Nicholas Brendan. Yeah, there he is.
That's hilarious.
How much does it cost? Holy fuck, £78. So what's that? That's $100, no?
I would say so.
£78, 21 pence.
That's hilarious.
Oh look, it's Jay. How much does he charge? £41. I'll just pay him to say bus wanker. Found myself
Yeah,
understanding how well it could go bad.
it'd
Out of
be
all the just work, I think
$99.
Fire would. Yeah, so yeah, I agree with you, Coffee. Firefly is. Have you watched Firefly, Moon?
I have not. I've always wanted to and always meant
Holy
to.
shit! Okay, so honestly, I'd genuinely consider pausing Buffy and going and watching Firefly.
Oh yeah.
Jane is the best character. Is Mal or Jane? Mal. I mean, honestly, there's not a bad character in the show. It's fucking brilliant. Firefly is fucking amazing.
I've always heard it's really good.
Serenity, the movie is fucking brilliant. It's so good. Need to get on that. Genuinely need to get on that.
Well, and it's got Nathan
sweet.
what's his face, which is fucking
Nathan
Caleb.
Fillion, yeah.
Caleb in the last season.
I adore Nathan Fillion.
He's a good actor.
Flipping amazing. He's so good. As Mal Reynolds, he's like brilliant. And then he's in a show.
Castle.
I can't think what it's called. Castle, thank you. Me and the wife watched it quite a bit because there's a lot of Firefly references in that show. Like
that's hilarious.
It's so like I basically watched Castle just to watch for the Firefly references, and actually it's quite a good show, Castle overall. Until they get married. What's that, like season 3 or 4? When they get married, it was all a bit like whatever.
That's kind of like Bones too. Once they finally get together, you're like, oh, okay.
Again, I'm gonna restate it. Like it's around 3 seasons, and it just needs to stop.
Well, for me, Bones is really good up until season like maybe 7. So
right,
it does really good.
But then, so I say this, but like X-Files, probably my favorite TV show of all time. It's around season 7 where that falls off. So you know, again, the rule doesn't apply fully.
Yeah.
And with X-Files, it really ends when Fox Mulder finds out what happens to his sister. And it's a beautiful episode. There's a song by Moby in the background. It's just, it is my favorite bit of TV ever. And I hate to say it, there's like 2 things that genuinely make me as an old man cry. Is that episode of X-Files and Signs and Wonders and Con Air, because there's the bit where Nick Cage just goes, I want to get my daughter back, and every time I cry. I have no idea why. Con Air makes me cry. It's the strangest thing. Georgina laughs at me so much because I'm sad. He actually found his daughter.
That's so
like
Logic is over here like, give him his daughter back.
Just give him his daughter. It's so funny.
That's hysterical.
Really hated the end of Serenity. Oh, what they do to the flying guy? What's his name? You mentioned his name earlier.
Alan Tudyk.
What they do to Alan Tudyk was so depressing. That's a bit of a spoiler. But
that's okay. I mean, it's been out long enough. If I don't know, it's my own fucking fault.
I won't say what happens. It is depressing. I can see why you hated the ending. I mean, they needed to wrap it up.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
keep getting off in tangents.
Oh fucking hell! Yeah, we could do this forever.
Yeah.
Maybe we should jazz it up. Maybe instead of just doing Buffy, we could do like Buffy heavy, but like. Because we're talking about other shows, and there's so many other things that I'd love to recommend to you, and I'm sure you would love to recommend to me. Maybe we could refine it, or I don't know. This is early days. This is episode 2.
Yeah.
Of the podcast, but episode 3 of the show.
Yeah, which I think our format too going forward will probably save more time for us to be able to add in those other things, because even like. Honestly, a lot of these episodes are skippable and you don't miss anything as far as like this first season. Whereas I think season 2 even, you get like good character development in these extra episodes. Whereas this one, you didn't get much of that. And I think that's maybe why it kind of falls flat and why we didn't talk about it too much. Because there's really no character development on top of Monster of the Week stuff. It's just monster of the week, we're going through the motions kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Dark City. I will add that to my list.
Yeah. So Dark City, you definitely need to watch Dark City. You need to watch Firefly and Serenity. Make sure you watch it in that order because Serenity is a follow-up to Firefly. And then what was the Buffy one? Cruel Intentions.
Yeah.
If you do watch Cruel Intentions, have a hot shower at the end. No, a cold shower. That's the one. Have a cold shower at the end because it's a film.
That's
it's
funny.
a film.
Yeah, and for those of you who are like, when you guys gonna do this again next? We don't even know, so just kind of like, you know, keep an eye out on it. I'll post it on my Discord too.
We'll do better because I mean I don't want to say too much, but I literally had to do a lot of traveling the start of this week, and then I was knackered by the time I heard back from Hannah yesterday. We'll make it. We'll be better. Don't worry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit going on, but a lot of the shit's calming down.
Good. That's good to know.
Maybe we'll do like Wednesday evenings. Maybe we just say like Wednesday evenings.
Yeah, and it'll be Wednesday evening, Logic's time. It'll be probably like for me right now it's 3:30. So like hopefully start like noon, 1, something like that. My time.
Yeah, 9:30 over here.
Yeah. So
yep.
Try and be better about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Moonies.
Yes.
I'm gonna tap out, get some sleep, and dream of Cordelia in her little gymnasium outfit. Ooh. Is the music getting hot in here all of a sudden?
And I'll just be thinking about Spike because I'm always thinking about Spike. It's just how I live.
Hey, he's a handsome blonde Englishman. I can relate.
That like
even though I'm not English, sort of, and all my hair's gone.
I that crypt Spike ends up living in, that's actually inside my head. Yeah. So
we all know what happens in there.
Spike quite literally lives in there rent free, and yeah, it's a hot mess in there. Don't go in there. That's why it's not safe to be a mind reader around me. You know what I'm saying? Like just. But anyway, thank you guys for coming. Thank you very much, Logic, and see you guys on the next episode.
No, thank you. Take care. Love you all.